Yo, 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 kings and queens, she's and he's, theys and thems, human beings, and everybody in between. It's Erratic Assassin, the hip hop therapist, always down to talk about it. So let's talk about it. And today we'll be talking about sneaker culture. I want to just look at where it started to where it's been, and I want to give my diagnosis of anything. It's not going to be a deep dive, not going to be a crazy dive, but I just want to say, like, I feel back in the day, while sneaker culture was so big, why I was running the streets, why every drop meant everything, to now where people are saying the resale killed the sneaker culture, and it's not, it's not as, it's like, I don't know, the sneaker culture is just not as alive, it's not as vibrant anymore. And I really believe it comes down to the silhouette of the kick, the shoe, the sneaker, the trainer, the whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? And when I say the silhouette, I just mean as a kid growing up, having an Air Force, having a Stan Smith, having a Reebok Classic, having, your Converses, having your New Balance with the dash shoes, the 950s, the 960s, the 990s, having your ASIC gels, having, your superstars, your Air Max 90s, 95s, 97s, having your Blazers, having your Cortezes, having your Dunks, just having your Vans, your variety of shoes. It was always the silhouette. As a kid, you used to want to draw down, like kind of the Air Force one was like the silhouette we all used to try draw, and you try shape it from there, or like the low Stan Smiths and then the superstars, and the Gazelles and the Simbas, and we always drew inspiration from the silhouette. And then it got to a point where I don't want to say the design died. How can I say this? I think it got to a point where hip hop got too big for the sneaker, if you know what I mean. Because when you look at it, sneakers were never really invested in the hip hop culture until Run DMC with My Adidas came out, and then Adidas signed them. They're like, cool, you guys can get Stan Smiths and everything. Otherwise, besides then, like even the quote says, it was mostly running shoes that just so happened people like to become lifestyle. And then hip hop started making these sneakers lifestyles, like your Air Maxes, your Cortez, these are actually running shoes. Your Adidas, these are actually running shoes. Then they made them lifestyle. And then I started feeling like your Nikes and your Adidas and your Reeboks had to start, be like, oh, the urban culture is taking off, and this is what people are following. Pop culture is starting to follow, oh, these guys are wearing Air Forces, these guys are wearing this, Timberlands, these guys are wearing that. So they started designing for the streets, the culture, for, in a lack of a better word, the urban culture. And then it got to a point where Jay-Z was telling us we need to change clothes from, the throwbacks to the suits. And then I feel that's when hip hop was like, okay, we can do the high end, we can do the high fashion, because there's always a Dapper Dan, there's always, niggas wearing Gucci, Louis V. But until that shift happened, it was like, wait. And then everyone started going high end. Then we started getting, your Little Waynes were dressing crazy. And then ASAP started coming in with the high end. And then you got your Migos, and then your Young Thugs, and, just and. And we never went back to the street culture. Everything was high end. And that's why I feel like sneakers started getting more high-end-ishy, more trying to design at a high end, because when you look at it, we had silhouettes. Then there was a time, there was a pause, and then Yeezy came through. Adidas and Nike came through, and Nike came with the Vapor Maxes. Oh, that was a crazy time, what I'm saying? When Nike, even with the Shocks, talking about classic silhouettes, with the Shocks, what I'm saying? But when Nike came with the Vapor Max, Adidas had the NMD, said 350s, Yeezy said 350. The silhouettes were still going crazy. This when Yeezy was still with Nike when he did the Red October, the Air Yeezy, the silhouettes were going crazy. And that was probably the last time you've seen good silhouettes. We had Jay Lorenzo with the Fear of Gods, Virgil coming out with, the off-whites. It was crazy. But from there, silhouettes started dying out. Then we started becoming more about, I want to say, colorways. This when Instagram, people are like, okay, you can design your sneaker. These are the colorways. We'll have this sneaker just in this colorway, I think that's when brands started realizing we're not making new silhouettes that are attracting people like that anymore. So we're just going to bring these old silhouettes in new different colorways and with collabs. So this silhouette with this colorway, or this silhouette with this collab, be it Louis, be it Dior, be it Supreme, be it Dragon Ball Z, be it whatnot, just throwing all the colorways and collabs on these things, just to reignite and relive the silhouette, because we weren't getting it like it. I think that's even why kids, when they buy basketball shoes or buying shoes, you don't really hear them talking about the new shoes that just dropped. But nowadays it is coming, like Anthony Edwards with what him, Ronnie, and Jay Lorenzo are doing there with the AE2s, Shay just dropped the Converses, the all ones. So we kind of slowly getting back into that. But what happened to the sneaker silhouette? I really feel like That's the blueprint. That is the structure of the shoe. Without that structure, the whole culture falls down. We're not looking at silhouettes anymore. Now we're just looking at how to sell them. That's why we started bringing in the retros, and then the reseller market came and went. Just like everything comes and goes and dies, and people still like that kills sneaker culture. But no, it's just the silhouette. When last did you see a good silhouette that you're just like, just made you look at it and be like, sexy. I mean, Nike's still trying the Air Max DN8s. I like them. That gives a new vibe to it. But we still bring the back stuff back. Like even with football, Nike's bringing back the Total 93s. Adidas is bringing it back in the Predators. It's like, let's sit down and get people dreaming and imagining again how your foot can be shaped, how your foot can look, what can make it cool again, and not for the high end, not for the fashion, for the streets, for the culture, for the people, for where it starts. Because, what's the one thing you wear every day when you hit the streets? You gotta wear the kicks, you gotta wear the shoes. What represents you, what protects you, what sets you. It's your status symbol. Make silhouettes great again. Make silhouettes great again. Peace. It's E.